Hi, and welcome to Overloud's tutorial series on using their gem line of plugins together in a mix. My name is Matt Werner, and I'll be walking us through how to use different combinations of gems on vocals, guitars, drums, and more. In this video, we're diving into the drum kit. We'll work with several different drum tracks using combinations of Comp 76, EQ 550, Sculpt Tube, and Rematrix. So let's get started. We've been working with this jazz standard, Fly Me to the Moon. Here's a refresher on the song. Since we will be working on the drums, let's check out the original recording without any processing. So what we have is a drum kit recorded using 5 microphones, one each on the kick, snare, and hi-hat, with a stereo pair as overheads. For this song, we are busing the snare, hi-hat, and overheads to a drum group so we can do some collective processing on those parts of the kit while keeping the bass drum completely separate. And the overall philosophy on mixing the drums on this song is to keep the kit as natural as we can. So no gating, no sample replacement, no sidechains. We'll be making use of multiple effects across the kit, but we want to stay true to the spirit of a jazz song and try and put the listener in the room with the band, not sitting on their lap. Think more an audience member at a jazz club. So to start, let's rein in the dynamics of the drums just a little bit. There is quite a contrast in the drummer's volume between different song sections, which is great, but we do need to prevent the drums from either overpowering the rest of the band or from disappearing in the quieter sections. So we will use Comp 76 on the kick, the snare, and the overheads to help us out. For both the kick and the snare, we want to set up the input so that it only starts compressing during the louder sections, and even when it does, it shouldn't change the character or start remotely pumping. All 3 compressor ratios are set to 8:1, and for the kick, we'll use a pretty quick attack with a slow release, adjusting the input so there's a small amount of compression during the quieter sections with more happening in the louder sections. The snare can use the default attack and release times. And again, we'll adjust the input so there's just mostly light compression that just starts digging in during some of the fills. The overheads contain all of the kit's stereo image, so we'll use Comp 76 to accentuate that stereo field by running it in mid-side mode. In this mode, the top portion controls the middle mono portion and the bottom is the sides, and we want to use this to compress the sides more and push up their output. Both will get a very slow attack time to minimize altering their character too much, and we'll use the input controls so that the mid barely compresses most of the time, while using heavier amounts of compression on the sides. And let's hear how those drums now start sounding together. Staying with these three channels, next we'll set up some very simple EQ using EQ 550. The kick could use just a touch of more bottom end, so let's find some added depth by boosting some of the lows. The overheads are just slightly crispy, so let's smooth them out by using the high band in shelf mode and roll off just a little bit of the top end. For the snare, I think it could thump just a little bit more, so let's use the Q button to find a good frequency range to help boost the body of the snare. Let's check out what we have so far. First, listening to the originals with the effects bypassed. And now with Comp 76 and EQ 550 in place. One great technique for adding a little bit of extra energy to the drums is to use an exciter, something that can add some higher order harmonics. We'll do that by using Sculpt Tube on the drum group. For this setup, we'll put the drive at 10 and turn on the high pass filter at 1K so that we're mainly keeping just the harmonics. And we're going to lower the parallel control until we have just the right amount of magic coming through. Let's listen to that again. Here is the original. And here it is with Sculpt Tube. Lastly, we have a couple of reverbs to set up. On the bass drum, we have a specific Overloud preset called Kick Booster. This is designed to add some space around the kick drum. We'll use the wet control to find just the right balance. Finally, on the drum group, which remember doesn't include that kick drum, we'll find the Nice Room preset. This has that short RT60 and a low frequency bump that we want in creating this jazz club vibe. Again, we'll find just the right amount of verb using the wet control. Now that we have all of these plugins set up, let's remind ourselves where we came from. and with all of the effects back on.
You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words.
Thanks for watching this video on using gems to process a drum kit. And be sure to check out the other parts in this tutorial series.